Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mass Retirees Weekly Update. Today's Friday, March 12th. I'm Sean Duhamel. Thank you so very much for joining with us again this week. As I believe everybody knows, this week marks the one-year anniversary of the pandemic taking hold here in the United States. Now, without any doubt, this has been an extremely difficult and tragic year for many of us, really for all of us. Whether you've lost someone, whether you've been cooped up at home, whether you or your family have lost a job, just dealing with the ins and outs of this crisis on a daily basis has been difficult. And it's great to occasionally get some really good news that make us optimistic about the future and to see some light at the end of the tunnel. And this week we received some very, very good news that I want to share with all of you. And it's really something that all of us can take a lot of pride in. If you're not aware, our good friend Ed Kelly has been elected General President of the International Association of Firefighters, the IAFF. The IAFF represents professional firefighters throughout North America. It is one of the most prestigious, one of the most important, one of the most powerful public employee unions in the United States, in Canada, as well as one of the most powerful labor organizations anywhere in the world. I think most of us hold firefighters in very high regard, and Edzo really embodies that, and that's why his fellow firefighters have chosen him to lead their organization going forward. It's a huge step forward for their organization. We are thrilled and very, very proud of Edzo. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Edzo, just let me give you a brief background. Edzo's from Boston, born and raised Boston, a multi-generation firefighter here in the city. Matter of fact, he lives about a mile from me, right here in Dorchester. He's Dorchester born and bred. I, of course, am not. I'm from the South Shore, but he still lives on the same street that he grew up on here in Dorchester. When I first met Edzo 15 or so years ago, he was the legislative agent for Boston Firefighters Local 718. I was your legislative liaison, and Nancy McGovern at that time was working in the State House and then later became the legislative agent for AFSCME Council 90. So all of us have worked hand in hand together over the years. But every piece of legislation that has come upon Beacon Hill for the last couple of decades has been something that all of us collectively have worked on. And our organization has had no greater set of allies than the Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts, Local 718, and in particular, Edzo Kelly. Every important piece of legislation, whether it's COLAs, pension reform, healthcare reform, retiree health insurance commission that Eddie and I served on together, we have worked on these issues hand in hand, and he has had your backs, and his organization has had our backs each and every step of the way. That's why we are so excited to have him elevated to this very important role at the national level. As you've heard us say before, and this is absolutely true, we are all in this together. As hard as we work on your behalf, I can't do the job by myself. Frank Valeri and Nancy McGovern and Tommy Bonarigo and Cheryl and Bill Reary and our whole team at Mass Retirees, as hard as we work for you, we're not in this alone, and we cannot win these battles by ourselves. We rely heavily on other organizations who share our values, share our work ethic, and are willing to get into the trenches and fight for you and work day in and day out on your behalf. And Edzo Kelly and the firefighters and most of, if not all of the other public employee unions here in Massachusetts, we're all in this together, and all of us are better off because of that. Now, Edzo went from being legislative agent for Local 718 to becoming president of the Boston Firefighters Local 718, and then later president of the Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts, and worked very, very closely with us every step of the way. 4 years ago, he was elected General Secretary Treasurer of the IAFF and has been serving at the national level while still working his shifts here in the city of Boston as a firefighter, I might add, which is something that I know he's proud of, and we are all very proud of him. That he's continued to work his shifts, and it's something that he holds near and dear. I don't know going forward if that's going to be possible in his new role, but I know that's going to be something that's going to be very, very difficult for him to give up if that ends up being the case. But needless to say, We are so proud to have him working with us at the national level. And going forward, the key issues for our association nationally, of course, is the reform of the Social Security windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. And our allies, the firefighters, are right in this battle with us. The WEP law affects more firefighters, police officers, and teachers across the country than any other group of public retirees. This is a key issue for them. They have signed on to Congressman Neal's legislation, and they are working hard along with us to get that legislation passed. So I am very much looking forward to continuing to work with Edzo in the weeks and months and years ahead on these important issues, and I'm hoping that he'll have the time and ability to join with us one of these Fridays so he can speak with you in his own words and talk about some of the things that they're working on around the country that you might find interesting. And we'll be reaching out in the coming weeks once he gets settled in his new role in Washington, D.C., in this very, very big and important job that he's been elected to. So again, Edzo, congratulations. We are so very proud of you, and we're looking forward to working with you together going forward. Now, in terms of, again, this has been very good news, this coming on the heels of a very dark anniversary. As I said at the outset of this message, we're now a year into the pandemic. And I know that we have lost members, and I know that many of you have lost loved ones because of COVID-19. And I have spoken with a number of you over the past weeks and months throughout the course of this pandemic as you've been enduring various hardships and your families have been enduring hardships, and it's been a terrible time for everybody. The good news is that there is indeed light at the end of the tunnel. Every day, more and more of the vaccine is available. We know that a growing percentage of our members have been vaccinated, have at least received one shot, if not both. And this is very good news because once you have been vaccinated, as I hope you know, even though you still might contract the virus and get sick, you're going to be largely protected. And we're not aware of anyone passing away as a result of COVID-19 who has been fully vaccinated. So this is really good news. So as I've said before, we're encouraging all of our members to get vaccinated as soon as you can. I'm hoping to be vaccinated in the coming weeks. Once we get into this next phase of the vaccine rollout, I'm going to take full advantage of that as soon as I can. My parents have been vaccinated, my in-laws have been vaccinated, so it's given my family a little bit of peace of mind. But we're not out of the woods yet. Please continue to protect yourselves, protect your families. Even if you've been vaccinated, please follow the CDC guidelines to keep everybody safe, and together we're going to get through this. Again, there's light at the end of the tunnel. The economy's improving. Spring finally arrived here in Boston this week, even though it's still technically winter, but spring has arrived, at least in terms of the weather. So there's good news on the horizon. We're almost there. We just got to stick with this. And my sincere hope, and I know our whole team here at Mass Retirees feels exactly the same way, our hope is that we're able to hold our 2021 annual meeting in person together this coming fall. Nothing would make me happier than being able to see you and shake your hand and look you in the eye and us all to celebrate that we've gotten through this together and that we have something to be proud of. I know that our members are incredibly resilient, and that really has been an inspiration to us all here at Mass Retirees, that when we speak with you and you're calling into our teletown hall meetings, you can just hear that sense of resiliency and determination that we're going to make it through this. And I have every faith in the world that we are, in fact, going to get through this together. So with that, I'm going to sign off for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in again. And we'll be back to you next Friday with the most up-to-date news and information on your behalf. Be well.